Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Heather. How are you today?
Good morning. I am amazing.
I love that. I am amazing. I am amazing. Wow. Um,
Affirmations, John.
yeah, no, it's funny because I was just thinking about that. Actually, there's a bunch of different things I was thinking about this morning as I was officially launching our podcast channel. So we are
I
now live
saw.
as a
Woo!
podcast on Spotify, on 20 other podcast channels. So you can look for us. We're under Say Yes or Say Yes Movement. And so excited to finally be on Spotify. We've got our first 5 episodes that are out there based on what we've done here. And I'm going to get the other 5 done by the end of the week. So those that want to go in, and what's been really interesting, Heather, for me, going in and looking at the theme of each of the conversations, right? Because within every conversation, there's a theme, right? There's consistency, there's um, morning
Flow.
routine, success patterns, all these different things that we've talked about. And it was quite, oh man, how do I even explain it? It was like, wow, we did that. Like,
All
we did that.
because what do? We said
We
yes.
said yes.
We
Right?
said yes. What I love too about it being in a podcast format is we get to do the LinkedIn Live. We've got people that join us on their regular commutes and we're consistent in our Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But now it's so easy to find, oh, what was that message again? And we can go back, and even I can go back and listen, because sometimes we have to live by the words that we say too. So I want to go back and listen, like, what was that message that I needed to hear? Because normally the things that we're talking about, John, are the messages that we actually have shown up for us in our lives, are showing up and sort of like knocking at our windows and our doors. So, these are messages for everyone to consume, but they're also for us to live, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And actually going in and actually, so as I post, I got to listen. So it's like, wow, we said that. Like, when you say things and you do things that you don't even realize you do, and then when you take a moment, and this is where we spend some time, is especially now at this time of the year, is going back and reflecting. Because the one thing we don't do is we don't reflect. And somebody just joined us, so I just wanted to say good morning. But we don't go in and we don't reflect, right? Like, and going through the exercise of uploading all these podcasts now. So for those that are just joining us again, we are officially a podcast. We're on Spotify and all the other major channels. So excited to launch that out to the world so we can have reach, right? Like we don't even know where this stuff's going to end up, which is beautiful, right? Like it can be anywhere. And actually, I was listening to one of the podcasts where we had somebody who listened in from Singapore, which was like, wow, we did that. Singapore, Jamaica, Europe, like it's just, wow. So reflection, and that's the theme. So that's today's theme. Today we're going to talk about reflection, especially going into this end of the year. So Heather, what I'd love to understand from you is, do you have a process for reflection? And what's that process look like?
Yeah, thank you, John. I think, one of the things that is the norm around this time of year is, okay, it's coming up to New Year, so we're going to do a resolution. And, we all know what happens to resolutions by about January 12th, and maybe even earlier than that. It sort of goes out the window because we make these huge proclamations about what we're going to do differently with our life, and they're so big and so grand that then as soon as we start, we were frustrated with like, oh that's overwhelming, that's too much, that's I can't get that done. And so there's a couple questions that I use as the reflection process, and also the intention setting process for what the year is going to look like. And the first question that I always ask myself is, what brought me absolute joy in the previous year? And you spend time just writing down what brought you joy in 2022. And it is such a beautiful process. You can put some nice music on while you do this. You can put fast music on, you can put slow music on. Both work, because it's whatever brings you joy. And it's amazing as you think about what brings you joy, how your mind's eye plays back the video. think about that first, John. I'll share the other two questions that are part of the reflection. But, when I say what brought you joy in 2022, what comes up for you right away?
As you're saying that, the one thing that showed up for me, because the one thing I've also gone through the exercise, but I broke it down a little bit further and I went month to month, right? So I looked
Mm.
at what did January bring me. And, when I think about joy and I think about joy in January, because you think about it, there's 12 months, right? So yes, you can summarize the whole year, what brought me joy, but I broke it down month to month just to go a little bit deeper. And what I found is in January, as I say this, it's giving me chills. But in January, I kicked off something called the 30-day health challenge. And my whole goal was just to go walk for 30 minutes. My goal was just to walk for 30
In
minutes.
January, your goal was to walk, and now you're doing an Ironman. This is
Yeah.
good. This is what 12 months gets you. This is
I'm
fantastic.
like,
Guys, this is a
yeah.
perfect example of start where you are. Wherever you
Mhm.
are, that's where you take that first step, metaphorically and physically, both.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I think about joy in January of this year, just walking for 30 minutes, right? And like you said, now I've got this crazy big audacious goal, which is it's going to happen because I've already booked the event, so I'm going. But you think about how far you can come in just like 12 months, right? Like we underestimate ourselves, right? We underestimate what we're capable of doing when we just start, right? And this is why I love the power of yes. This is why yes is so important in people's lives. My yes was just I want to improve my health and I'm going to start, like you said, where I'm at. And where I'm at right now is just walking 30 minutes a day. That's it.
Wow.
Like it wasn't even, there was no running. There was no, well, there might've been a swim or two in there. Um, but it was just starting where I was at. And like,
Okay,
oh
two
my
things are
gosh.
coming up for me, John, as you say that. One, I think we need to do a worksheet that is collecting that on a monthly basis, right? That these three
Mhm.
reflection questions, because you're right. If you wait till the end of the year, you can't see the progress that you've made. And the fact that you broken it down monthly, we can actually do this as a monthly exercise. So I love it. We're going to put this into a worksheet. We'll share it out as one of the links for sure. I think
Woohoo.
that's amazing. And the other thing what was the second thing? Oh, the same message came up for me in my meditation that just came up for you, which is we can do more or you can do more. And that was my internal dialogue because, oftentimes we want to stay safe. We're not sure. We don't take that first step or we take that first step and we're a little bit uneasy. I was actually at my physio appointment yesterday and my physio pointed out that I am no longer like weighty on my feet for some of the exercises that I'm doing. And I was like, that's right. I'm stronger. Like I'm stronger. But someone else had to point that out to me. I didn't notice it because it was just such a small, it's not a small improvement. It's a huge improvement, but someone else
Huge.
had to point it out for me because I'm just living my life. So that's the other thing that you can do is ask people around you is, what changes have you seen me go through this year that have inspired you? And you can ask your team that, you can ask anyways that's what just came up for me. I think that's awesome. Let's
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
the process. So the first question is, what brought you joy in 2022 or in the previous year? And like
Sorry,
John
hold
said,
on. Before we
yes,
even
oh
go
my
there,
God.
what brought you joy? What brought
Oh
you
yes,
joy?
thank you. You know what, I think the joy that I experienced was putting the intention out there for movement and moving from a place where I was literally taking stairs one at a time because of my knee to climbing Mount Tabuco. That was a pivotal moment in my life, but it was the intention of movement. And I also had, an intention to walk, the 10,000 steps a day, just walk one foot in front of the other. And that was, again, the best advice I got this year was everyone climbs the mountain the same way, one foot in front of the other. And everyone starts something the same way. They start with a decision and an action. Those are the two things that get you moving forward: decision and action.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Decision and action. I hope those of you that are listening in right now, you're writing this down because this is so rich. Decision, make the decision, and then act on your decision. No matter how small that action is, take action. Because for me, for you, it was literally taking that first step, like really, like getting outside. Actually, and yesterday I went for a walk and it was cold. It was -10. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just go do this, right? but it's the decision to take the first step, whatever that first step is for you. And decide and act, right? Like this is what leads us. And you think about it, Heather, like, I know you had knee surgery earlier in the year, and here you are, like you just climbed a freaking mountain, just a few weeks ago. And it's like, who would have thought like that was even a possibility given, if you just looked at the circumstances and saying, I can never do that. So you don't even try, right? And I think this is where a lot of us get stuck is we don't even try because we give up on ourselves. We create an outcome for ourselves in our heads that leads us to a place where we're not successful. And all it takes is, you know what? I don't need to, and actually this goes back to what we talked on Monday. You don't need to know the how.
You don't need to know the how.
You don't need to know the how, right? Like, and I'm, the more we dig into this, the more I'm realizing we really got to let go of the how.
Yes, because if you will limit yourself if you decide how, when you also make the decision to act, you will limit yourself. Something's coming up for me, John, as oh my God, this is exciting morning. Like, this is what happens when we meditate first and our day has already started. It's fantastic. Anyways, the other piece of this formula, and specifically around climbing Mount Tabuco for me, is I sent a picture of me on the top of Mount Tabuco to my surgeon. And I showed it to my physiotherapist yesterday. And the reason I'm sharing that is both of them were ecstatic. And my surgeon is pretty dry. Like he's a surgeon, right? His admin ran into his office. He was talking to me on the phone and showed him the picture. And the conversation completely changed. And I said to him, thank you for helping me climb that mountain. And I use that as an example of, who do we need to thank that's helped us on it? So we don't need to know the how, but the how shows up in teachers and lessons and people that are willing to help us along the way. So also reflect on who are those people that have helped you along the way or could help you along the way. Are you going to reach out to them? Have you reached out to them? And is there some gratitude that you want to give? And, just, it's not a normal thing, I think, for surgeons to get shown pictures of people climbing mountains, especially for knee surgeons. He's usually working with a different age bracket, and he was really, really like, I think I made his day that day. I felt good showing him the picture. And then my physio yesterday, of course, what does he say to me? He's like, great, what's your next goal? And I'm like,
nice. Dude, like, love it.
Pretty good. And he's like, all right, so we're going to measure your success. We're going to put some measurements and we're going to do an 8-week sprint. And honestly, I was like, wait a minute, I just finished climbing my mountain. Can I have a rest? He's like, absolutely not. Like, no, you can be stronger. You can do more. And those words have rung in my ear for the last 24 hours. You can do more. So that is,
I love it.
That is my
like
mantra.
You can do more. You can do more. Like, imagine we just sat there and you can do more. You can do more. You can do more.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. So rich this morning. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Question two, John.
Question two. Yeah. I was going to question
otherwise
two.
We're going to leave them hanging. Okay. The second question that I ask in reflection is, in the past year, what was your greatest pain point, frustration, or level of anxiety? And the reason that this question is really important is there's a lot of gold in what caused you frustration. There's a lot of lessons. There might be lessons that you're still avoiding that you need to go to. There might be lessons learned that you never want to have to learn again. Or there might be unresolved issues that are going to carry over and you want to act and take solutions and decide that this is not the year that this continues to be a problem. So that is a really, really important question so that we don't have to repeat the stuff we've learned. So that is a tougher question for myself. I don't know for you, John, if it's a tougher question.
Yeah. So again, I took the same exercise and I did it by month. Right. In January, I was in a place that I wasn't happy with. Like, I'll be honest, like I was doing something I really, now that I look back and I look at it, it could have been different for me. But what I took away were the lessons, right? And the lessons, it's fantastic that you asked this question because, like you said, there's gold and there's nuggets and all the things that we experience that we look at as I'm not going to say horrible experiences, but experiences that didn't serve our higher selves, right? And what I realized in the month of January, I didn't hold space for my boundaries. I didn't hold space for who I authentically was. And I'm never going to let that happen again.
Oh,
So no
I
matter
love
what
that.
shows up for me this year, I know who I am. I know what my boundaries are. And if it doesn't align with who I am and what I do, then I know that I have options. Right? Like
Wow, that
just
is
knowing that
powerful.
is like, yeah,
Wow.
that was amazing. What about
Wow.
yourself? Anything show up for you that didn't serve you this year?
For sure. This year, again, my intention of movement, getting that knee surgery, it was a big decision. And I spent 4 months where, walking up the stairs in my own house was a challenge. And the promise I made to myself is I will always have movement as part of my intention, because every day, like, I am the youngest that I'm ever going to be in my life right now. The more I get a little bit older and a little bit wiser, so I'm okay with that. But movement doesn't need to be hard if we are always moving. So
Mm,
that was the source of frustration, because I got a taste of what it feels like not to have it available to you. And without health, you have nothing. So that was a really big pain point, and I took action. So, and
yeah.
I'll continue to take action.
Love it. And now it's
Mhm.
become a part of who you are, right?
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. I
Yeah.
ran into a friend on a plane this week, and he hadn't seen me for 10 years, so he didn't see that I'd gained weight. He only remembered me from 10 years back, which is sort of what I look like now. And he introduced me as a Spartan racer and a Tough Mudder racer, and I was like, oh man, that's my past. And I'm like, no, that's who I am. That's how he knows me. And I thought to myself, here's somebody recognizing me, saying hi to me, and seeing in me things that I'm not even seeing in myself. Like,
Mm,
sometimes we have to let other people tell us why we're awesome
yeah. No, absolutely. And then receive it. And the best part,
and
and
then
what I
receive it.
heard, yeah, what I heard there is like you didn't fight it. You're like, yeah, that's who I
Yeah.
am. Thank you.
Okay, third
All right,
question.
one more question. One more question.
The next one is around service. So, how did you make the world a better place in the previous year? And again, John, to your monthly piece, and we're
Mm,
going to create a monthly worksheet for this. So, if you're thinking, oh, wow, these are tough questions to reflect on the whole year, they are. You'll miss some things, but we're going to do this on a monthly basis because I think this is a great process. So, how did you make the world a better place in 2022? John, like, what comes to mind? And this is
yeah.
where, receiving and giving, it's like, oh man, did I really make the world a better place?
Yeah, actually, as I reflect on this question, I think doing this, like doing the Say Yes podcast, like just seeing some of the messages that have been coming in from people, I know it's making a
Mm,
difference. And I know our objective is simple. We just want to impact one person, but I know we've impacted more than one person just through this show. So, and this is something that just started not that long ago. March or November is really when this officially got kicked off.
hmm.
And this is how I'm leaving my impact on the world through this, right? So I know there's more, but just really quickly off the top of my head, that's what's showing up for me. What about you, real quick?
Very, very similar. So, my goal of positively impacting 5 people a day continues. And, it was so easy to say yes to this as a movement because this is what I stand for. This is what we want to do every single day. And
Mm,
so it's every single day positively impacting at least 5 people a day, and this reach out is a perfect way to do that. So I'm
yeah.
excited for the podcast launching. I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited, John. We're running out of time. Okay. The last question, and maybe you have some questions to add to your process, John, because I know we both have processes, is what is your intention for the next year or for the next month if we're going to break it down? What is your intention? I want to realize that the intention is not a resolution. You can hear the difference, right? So if my intention is movement, I'm not resolving something, I'm actually moving towards action. And that's the beauty of intention. So, what is your intention for this month, this week, this year, this day? And you can
Yeah.
break it down into the smallest little steps.
I love it. I love it. I'm not going to go into the response right now because I'm still working on it because I still need to do the work. But I love the question. What's your intention for 2023? Right? Like I
Mm,
know our intention for 2022 was just health. And that,
Yeah.
you know, when we think about the wheel of life, like that is one area where I think we actually hit a 10, which is amazing for both of us. So like, I
Mhm.
love that we've done that. And now maybe there's another area. Actually, I know there's another area I want to focus on. So
There's
I'll,
another area, but I think the gift of going through a journey is then teaching it
mm,
back. And I know, John, we've talked about, you know, what we're going to do in January, how we're going to help others achieve the goals that they've put out. And January just always feels like health is the main topic, especially after we've all overate and overdrank over the holidays. And really, you know, for both of us, what we teach and what we implemented in our lives was a change in our mindset in
mm,
order to get a change in our bodies. So, you know, the formula for weight loss and for good health is a mathematical equation, right? Eat less, move more. But everybody knows that formula, and yet it's really tough to do. And what we overcame and put tactics in place is the mindset
mm.
around good health and the mindset around anything that we want to achieve in our life. And so that's where we're going to deep dive into in the month of January together and share our tips and tricks, and maybe even have some sort of challenge, John, because we're
Yeah,
really good
yeah.
at those, right?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's amazing. Okay, so we are at time. So today you got some homework. You got 4 questions. Well, 4 questions you're going to walk through, and you know what I'm going to invite you to think about is just put aside 10 to 15 minutes. That's it, right? And if you only get through one question in those 10, 15 minutes, that's fine. But what you're going to find is when you go through that exercise of just answering those questions, things are going to show up for you. Things that either you're going to love that show up for you, but then there might be things that you might not love, which means you have an option of keeping it or letting it go, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, you have the option. You can make the decision on what you want to do with it once you know what it is. Thing is, you can't do anything with it if you don't know it. So this is
That's
why I
right.
love these questions, just taking the time to reflect. So that's your homework for today. I know one of the things that we do at the end of each of these calls is assign a little bit of homework, but that is your homework for today. So I'm going to invite you to go off and do that. And then let us know on Friday how it went for you. We'd love for you to just jump in the chat and let us know.
I
All
love
right,
it.
Heather, I guess we're
Awesome.
out.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you on Friday.
Take care, everybody.